The natural world is a tapestry of extraordinary events. From the intricate dances of honeybees to the vibrant colors of a summer garden, life unfolds in a symphony of beauty and complexity. One of the most fascinating and fundamental processes in this grand performance is sexual reproduction. While often discussed in the context of animals, the plant kingdom boasts an equally captivating story of procreation. This is particularly true for flowering plants, or angiosperms, which represent a pinnacle of evolutionary success and biodiversity. Flowers, with their captivating colors, alluring scents, and intricate structures, are not merely decorations. They are, in essence, sophisticated reproductive organs, carefully crafted by millions of years of evolution to ensure the continuation of their lineage. Prepare to be amazed by the sheer ingenuity of nature as we unravel the secrets behind the magic of flowering plant reproduction. The diversity of flowering plants is truly staggering. From the towering redwoods to the smallest daisies, the plant kingdom explodes with an astonishing array of forms, colors, and scents. Each species, with its unique floral architecture, reflects a long and intricate evolutionary history shaped by environmental pressures and the constant drive for reproductive success. Imagine standing in a lush meadow, sunlight dappling through the leaves as butterflies flit between blossoms. The air hums with the buzz of bees, drawn to the sweet nectar hidden deep within the floral depths. This idyllic scene is a microcosm of the intricate relationships that have co-evolved between flowering plants and their pollinators. From the familiar roses and lilies to the more exotic orchids and passion flowers, each flowering plant species has a unique story to tell. To truly appreciate the magic of flowering plant reproduction, we must first understand the language of flowers. Their beauty is not merely superficial, it serves a vital purpose in the grand scheme of reproduction. Each element of a flower, from the vibrant petals to the often overlooked sepals, plays a crucial role in ensuring the continuation of its species. The most eye-catching features of most flowers are undoubtedly their petals. These colorful, often fragrant structures serve as beacons, advertising the flower's presence to potential pollinators. But the beauty of a flower extends far beyond its petals. Nestled within this colorful embrace lies the true heart of the matter, the reproductive organs. Before we delve into the heart of the flower, let's pause to appreciate the often overlooked but essential role of the sepals. These small leaf-like structures typically form a protective casing around the developing flower bud. Think of them as the guardians of the flower's potential, shielding the delicate petals and reproductive organs within from harsh weather and hungry herbivores. Sepals can be green, blending seamlessly with the foliage, or they can be just as colorful and showy as the petals themselves. As the flower bud matures and prepares to unveil its beauty to the world, the sepals gradually part, revealing the delicate petals within. The next time you encounter a flower, take a moment to appreciate the subtle beauty of the sepals. Now let's turn our attention to the stars of the show, the reproductive organs themselves. The stamens, representing the male contribution to reproduction, are typically composed of two main parts: the filament, a slender stalk that holds the anther aloft, and the anther itself, the pollen-producing powerhouse. The filament's length and shape can vary greatly depending on the flower species. The anther, often resembling a tiny sac or capsule, is where the magic of pollen production takes place. Within the anther, countless microscopic pollen grains develop, each carrying the male genetic material necessary for fertilization. As the flower matures, the anthers swell and eventually split open, releasing a shower of pollen grains into the world. At the heart of the flower lies the pistil, the female reproductive organ that holds the key to seed production. Often resembling a slender vase, the pistil is typically composed of three main parts: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. The stigma, located at the top of the pistil, is a sticky or feathery surface specifically designed to capture pollen grains. Once a pollen grain lands on the stigma, it begins to germinate, sending out a tiny tube that grows down through the style, a slender stalk that connects the stigma to the ovary. This pollen tube acts as a conduit, transporting the male gametes from the pollen grain down to the ovary, where the ovules await fertilization. The ovary, located at the base of the pistil, is the heart of the seed factory. Within the ovary, one or more ovules develop, each containing a female gamete and the potential to become a seed. With the stage set and the reproductive organs poised for action, the next act in the drama of flowering plant reproduction can begin: pollination. This crucial process involves the transfer of pollen grains, those tiny vessels of male genetic material, from the anther of a flower to the stigma of a flower of the same species. Imagine a bustling marketplace filled with a cacophony of sounds, colors, and scents. This is the world of pollination, where flowers and their pollinators engage in a delicate dance of attraction and reward. For the flower, the goal is to entice a pollinator to visit, collect pollen, and then hopefully deposit that pollen on the stigma of another flower, facilitating fertilization and the continuation of its genetic lineage. Pollination is not a haphazard affair, it's a sophisticated process shaped by millions of years of evolution. Flowers have developed an astonishing array of strategies to attract their preferred pollinators, from vibrant colors and alluring scents to intricate shapes and strategic placement of their nectar rewards. Let's begin our exploration of pollination strategies with the most understated yet remarkably effective player on the field, the wind. Wind pollination, also known as a nemophily, is an ancient strategy employed by many grasses, trees, and some flowering plants. These plants don't rely on flashy colors or enticing scents to attract pollinators. Instead, they produce vast quantities of lightweight pollen grains that are easily carried by the wind. Wind-pollinated flowers are typically small and inconspicuous, lacking the vibrant petals and sweet nectar rewards that characterize their animal-pollinated counterparts. While seemingly random, wind pollination is a remarkably successful strategy for many plant species, particularly in open environments where wind can travel freely. While less common than wind or animal pollination, water plays a crucial role in the reproductive cycle of certain aquatic plants. This method of pollination, known as hydrophily, is particularly important for plants that live submerged in water or have flowers that float on the water's surface. Water-pollinated plants have adapted their reproductive strategies to suit their aquatic environment. Some species release their pollen directly into the water, allowing it to be carried by currents to receptive stigmas. Others, like the water lily, have flowers that float on the water's surface, relying on rain or gentle ripples to transport pollen from one flower to another. Water pollination presents its own unique challenges. Despite its limitations, water pollination is a vital process for maintaining genetic diversity among aquatic plant populations. Perhaps the most captivating and visually stunning pollination strategy involves partnerships between plants and animals. This intricate dance of attraction and reward, known as zoophily, has resulted in some of the most extraordinary co-evolutionary relationships in the natural world. Animals, from tiny insects to large mammals, play a vital role in the pollination of many flowering plants. These floral ambassadors are drawn to flowers by a variety of attractants, including vibrant colors, alluring scents, and of course, the promise of a sweet nectar reward. As an animal visits a flower to collect nectar or pollen, it inadvertently brushes against the flower's anthers, picking up pollen grains on its body. As the animal moves from flower to flower, it acts as a pollen courier, potentially depositing some of the collected pollen on the stigmas of other flowers, facilitating cross-pollination. The stage is set. A pollen grain carried by the wind, water, or an unwitting animal accomplice lands upon the receptive surface of a stigma. This seemingly insignificant event marks the beginning of a remarkable journey, a microscopic rendezvous with the potential to create new life. The stigma, often sticky or covered in tiny hairs, acts like a welcoming mat, capturing the pollen grain and preventing it from being lost to the elements. For fertilization to occur, the pollen grain must land on the stigma of a flower of the same species. This species-specific recognition system ensures that only compatible gametes unite, maintaining the genetic integrity of the plant species. Upon successful recognition, a series of biochemical signals are exchanged between the pollen grain and the stigma. Imagine a seed, dormant for months or even years, suddenly awakening from its slumber when the conditions are just right. Something similar happens when a pollen grain carrying the male gametes lands on a receptive stigma. This encounter triggers a remarkable transformation within the pollen grain. It begins to germinate. The tough outer wall of the pollen grain softens, and a tiny tube-like structure known as the pollen tube emerges from within. The pollen tube, guided by chemical signals from the pistil, begins to elongate, penetrating the stigma's surface and growing down through the style, the slender stalk that connects the stigma to the ovary. The growth of the pollen tube is a remarkable feat of plant physiology. The success of this journey, this microscopic quest for fertilization, hinges on the pollen tube's ability to overcome the challenges that lie ahead. Section 3: The journey of the pollen tube. The pollen tube's journey down the style is a remarkable testament to nature's ingenuity. Imagine a tiny tunnel being drilled through solid rock. This is the microscopic world of the pollen tube. The style actively guides the pollen tube towards its destination. Cells provide nourishment and chemical signals steer the pollen tube. This journey is not without its challenges. The pollen tube must overcome physical barriers and chemical defenses. Only the fittest pollen tubes will successfully navigate this cellular maze. The pollen tube finally reaches its destination, the ovary. This structure houses the ovules, each containing a female gamete, the egg cell. Guided by chemical signals, the pollen tube approaches an ovule. The tip penetrates the ovule through a small opening called the micropyle. The moment of truth has arrived. Deep within the ovary, a microscopic revolution is underway. The zygote, a single cell with combined genetic legacy, begins its transformation. Cell division starts, each new cell carrying the plant's genetic blueprint. This leads to the formation of a tiny multicellular embryo. A tiny root, the radicle, emerges to anchor the new plant. As the embryo grows, so too does its need for nourishment. To sustain the developing plant through its early stages of life, a dedicated food reserve is created within the seed, the endosperm. Remember the second male gamete, the one that didn't participate in fertilizing the egg cell? This gamete plays a crucial role in the formation of the endosperm. It unites with two polar nuclei within the ovule, triggering a process of cell division and differentiation that leads to the formation of this nutrient-rich tissue. The endosperm, often described as the seed's lunchbox, is packed with carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, essential building blocks for the growing plant. The exact composition of the endosperm varies depending on the plant species, reflecting the specific nutritional needs of the developing embryo. In some seeds, like those of beans and grains, the endosperm is large and starchy, providing a long-lasting energy source for the germinating seedling. In other seeds, like those of orchids, the endosperm is minimal, and the embryo relies on a symbiotic relationship with fungi for its early nutrition. Section 3: Fruit formation, a protective embrace. While the embryo and endosperm are developing within the ovule, a remarkable transformation is taking place around them. The ovary, the structure that houses the ovules, begins to swell and mature, eventually developing into a fruit. Fruits are as diverse as the flowers that produce them, ranging in size, shape, color, and texture. From the juicy sweetness of a strawberry to the tough, leathery husk of a coconut, fruits are a testament to the ingenuity of nature. and the many ways plants have evolved to protect and disperse their seeds. The development of a fruit is triggered by hormones released during fertilization. These hormones stimulate the ovary wall to thicken and differentiate, forming the fleshy or dry tissues that will enclose the developing seeds. The fruit serves several important functions. It protects the developing seeds from physical damage, desiccation, and predators. It also plays a crucial role in seed dispersal, attracting animals with its bright colors, sweet scents, or nutritious rewards, enticing them to consume the fruit and inadvertently carry the seeds to new locations. Orchids, masters of deception and reward. Orchids boast intricate pollination mechanisms, often relying on deception and mimicry. Bee orchids mimic female bees, luring males to pick up pollen. Bucket orchids trap bees in liquid pools, forcing them to collect pollen. The bee then carries pollen to another flower, completing the cycle. Section 2. Grasses, the silent symphony of the wind. In contrast to the flamboyant displays of orchids, grasses rely on a more subtle and understated approach to reproduction. As masters of wind pollination, grasses have evolved a suite of adaptations that allow them to harness the power of the breeze to carry their pollen grains far and wide. Unlike their showier insect-pollinated counterparts, grass flowers are typically small, inconspicuous, and lack brightly colored petals or nectar rewards. Instead, they produce vast quantities of lightweight pollen grains that are easily lifted and carried by even the gentlest of breezes. The anthers of grass flowers are often elongated and hang loosely on flexible filaments, allowing them to sway freely in the wind, releasing their pollen into the air like dust motes dancing in the sunlight. The stigmas, too, are adapted for wind pollination, often feathery or branched, extending beyond the flower to maximize their chances of intercepting airborne pollen. This seemingly haphazard method of pollination, while less targeted than animal pollination, is remarkably successful for grasses, allowing them to dominate vast swathes of the planet from open grasslands to windswept dunes. From the intricate deceptions of orchids to the silent efficiency of wind-pollinated grasses, each species has developed its own unique approach to ensuring the continuation of its lineage. Even the most seemingly insignificant organisms play a vital role in the interconnected web of life. It is a story of attraction, union, and the promise of new beginnings. The intricate dance of sexual reproduction might seem unnecessarily complex for plants. Asexual reproduction offers a simpler path to propagation, so why embrace the complexities of sex? The answer lies in genetic diversity. Sexual reproduction generates unique gene combinations. This diversity is crucial for natural selection. It acts as a species insurance policy, ensuring survival in a changing world. The importance of sexual reproduction extends far beyond the individual species. The genetic diversity generated by sexual reproduction is a cornerstone of biodiversity, the intricate tapestry of life that sustains our planet. Flowering plants, through their intimate relationships with pollinators and the vast array of fruits and seeds they produce, play a pivotal role in terrestrial ecosystems. Their success is inextricably linked to the success of countless other organisms, from insects and birds to mammals and even fungi. The genetic diversity within plant populations, fueled by sexual reproduction, contributes to the resilience of these ecosystems. Diverse plant communities are more resistant to disease outbreaks, pest infestations, and climate change. This stability, in turn, supports a wider array of animal life, creating a ripple effect that resonates throughout the food web. By safeguarding sexual reproduction in flowering plants, we are, in essence, protecting the very foundation of biodiversity. Conserving natural habitats, promoting pollinator health, and understanding the intricate mechanisms of plant reproduction are essential steps in ensuring the health and resilience of our planet's ecosystems. Our journey into the world of sexual reproduction in flowering plants reveals remarkable complexity and beauty. From pollen grains on the wind to intricate partnerships with pollinators, the process is elegant and efficient, We've explored stamens, pistils, pollination, fertilization, and the transformation from zygote to seed. The diversity of reproductive strategies, from orchids to wind-pollinated grasses, is astounding. Sexual reproduction shapes the diversity and resilience of life on Earth. Gene recombination enables species to adapt and thrive. The success of flowering plants is a testament to this process. They colonize nearly every habitat, supporting a vast web of life, including our own. As we face unprecedented environmental challenges, understanding and protecting the intricate processes that sustain life on Earth is critical. The story of sexual reproduction in flowering plants reminds us of the vital role of even the smallest organisms. By fostering pollinator health and conserving natural habitats, we ensure flowering plants thrive. The next time you encounter a flower, appreciate its intricate beauty and the remarkable story it embodies. Let us strive to protect this legacy for a bright future full of promise.